Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of You Haven't Seen That Podcast, or YHST for short. I'm Isaac.
I'm Alva.
And this is the show where we cover movies on that growing list of films that has people asking us a question.
You haven't seen that?
Regular breakdown edition. I told you we're going to be doing them regularly. That means that the intermissions are actually going to be an intermission, an interim between the breakdowns. There you go. That's our form. If you haven't done so already, a little quick call to action. Visit us, follow us, like, and subscribe on our social media at
YHST Pod.
And if you want to support the show like a handful of people have been doing recently, and I greatly appreciate it, you can do that on Venmo at
YHST Pod.
So like and subscribe and follow and comment and communicate with us and let us know, what you thought about this movie if you want to go see it, anything that's been coming out lately. So you're part of our little YHST filmic community, and we appreciate it in advance. And we appreciate people that have been supporting us recently. It's been amazing. I love it. It's fun. I think we will continue to do this for a little while longer.
And you can listen to us babble on YHST Pod.
Yeah, anywhere podcasts are available. Another little quick call to action. So if you listen on just like one platform, check out all the other ones: YouTube, Spotify, iTunes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and let's get those numbers true to roof. Capiche.
Kapow.
So, because it's a regular breakdown, if you're not familiar with this format, that means we're not doing any news, but at the very end of this, we will talk about a few trailers that have popped up. CinemaCon happened recently, this past weekend, and there's just a ton of stuff. We're not going to talk about it all. Look on our social media for some of those things that we may or may not cover. Stay tuned and hit notification bells and all that other cringy stuff.
At YHST Pod.
Yeah. So tell people what we're watching, what we had watched, what we're breaking down.
Today we will be discussing Rush, 2013 F1 movie.
Starring Daniel Bruhl as Niki Lauda and Chris Hemsworth as James Hunt. This is the true story about the true rivalry between James Hunt, F1 driver, Formula One driver, is James Hunt and Niki Lauda. We have 183 movies on our list, and I was like, you know what? Somebody recently was talking to us about the F1 movie that's going to come out with Brad Pitt, and then they're like, you ever seen Rush? We're like, no, what's that? They're like, oh my God, you guys are in Formula One, you've not seen that? I'm like, no. And then you were like, oh my God, I'm so involved with Formula One. How did I not know about this movie? But you were familiar with James Hunt and Niki Lauda, correct?
Of course, who wouldn't be?
Me.
Well, I mean, yeah, you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Shut up. No.
This takes place back in in the 70s.
This starts in 1970, I think 5.
Okay.
That's I believe when they first race each other, or 76. But yeah, that starts back in mid 70s when they're both new to F1. They both started off in F3, which is Formula 3, which is one of
the lower divisions.
Yeah, which you would have to go through all F4, F3, F2 to get to F1.
Compared to what, like buying your way in?
Yeah, you can't buy your way in.
So, I mean, throughout history, people have bought their way in, but the reason why we're covering this, again, it was on the list. It was put on the list a few months back, around the time when the Brad Pitt F1 movie was put out. And, since we were going back to doing the breakdowns, I was like, dude, the GP 2025 GP just started up again. In fact, we're going to get through this because it's the evening time right now, and at 10 o'clock tonight, Japan
Grand Prix
is kicking off, and there's been a lot happening. We will not start a Formula One podcast. There are many others out there.
I don't want it to start so much right now because the whole thing is, I don't think I'm even paying attention to the drivers that are there.
There's a lot of rookies too.
There's I think there's 6 rookies.
Yeah.
And I'm paying more attention to them than the actual drivers that have been there for a while. Except for Lawson. Lawson can kick buckets.
There's so much drama with F1. You watch Drive to Survive?
So here's the thing. I started to watch it. I initially never got into Formula One because of Drive to Survive. I got into it because Kimi Räikkönen, another driver, there's TikTok edits, and he happened to catch my attention.
Is that code for he's hot?
No, it's code for he has sass on track.
Hey guys, it's code for he's hot.
They call him Iceman.
Whoa.
So
He done cometh.
it was just
I almost spit tea. Are you getting hot and bothered over there?
No, okay. Side note, I do have a sinus infection with a really bad cough right now. So
You're not getting hot and bothered. You're just fucking having problems breathing.
I'm having problems breathing, talking. I'm
Yeah.
making sure that if I'm talking, I am hydrating at the same time. Also making sure that I do not cough on mic.
Oh my
because
God.
I do have very gnarly coughs right now.
I don't look forward to editing this because of the cough. Jesus, her coughs are like dudes smoker coughs.
Yeah, it's like I've been smoking for 60 years. That's how like I feel like I sound. No, but Kimi Räikkönen, all the radio edits when
When they talk to the pit.
the engineers and
Yeah.
stuff like that, and I'm just like, this guy's fucking hilarious. Like, I'm not gonna lie, this guy is fucking hilarious.
Oh, you showed me some of that.
Yeah.
My goodness, that guy.
Okay, Kimi, we have now 5-second time penalty that we will serve after the race.
For what?
So that will add 5 seconds to your time after. For crossing the line on pit entry.
Let's segue that into this movie because I know you will go on about.
Oh
Formula
yeah,
One.
no, definitely.
So Kimi Räikkönen, a lot of these drivers, and specifically Kimi Räikkönen, let's link that with this driver, Niki Lauda. Some of these drivers are professionals in the actual professional sense where they're very cold, calculated, and collected. And you have to be when you're driving a fucking rocket that's going 180 miles per hour, maybe like 100 around the turns.
Minimum.
It's
Yeah.
fucking insane. Do yourselves a favor. Just type in Formula One on YouTube. Red Bull does a lot of great coverage. And to link it back to the F1 movie that's coming out soon, one of our favorite movie people, Mark Ellis, did get to see the first 10 minutes of that movie. And he goes, oh my God. So because it's directed by the guy that did Top Gun Maverick, it looks amazing. So I'm excited. I like that guy. I trust his opinion. So, but anyways, going back to it. So Niki Lauda is collected as hell. And this movie and this character played, this real person, portrayed in this movie by Daniel Bruhl, which you'll be familiar with him in Captain America Civil War.
Yeah.
He was a villain called Zemo. Mm-hmm. I don't think I've seen this guy outside of that role. He was in an HBO Max show called The Franchise, which is perfect. That makes fun of all these tentpole franchise movies. But anyhow, like this guy's acting is great, and I love seeing this movie's clips pop up on TikTok and Instagram because him as Niki Lauda is so funny, and the real Niki Lauda is very cold and snipey.
It's
like that?
calculated. Okay.
Yeah.
So we don't say bad about Niki Lauda.
No. Dude's a fucking
R.I.P.
guru.
Yeah.
When did he pass away?
He passed away like a couple of years ago.
And James Hunt is played by, speaking of Marvel, Chris Hemsworth.
Jinx, you owe me a soda. Well, this right now a tea, but you know, you get what I mean.
But this is a few years after Thor. Now, I don't know where this lined up as far as like being shot or anything like that. And the reason why I say that is because if you've seen the first Thor, 2011, God, so long ago, he was beefy. Hemsworth was beefy. And this one, not to say people can't slim down or anything like that or lose a muscle, but he was not beefy. He was hunky. I'm using like 80s terms.
I feel like they also had like, it might have been around the time where I don't know if they made him do that for this role or something, because I know they don't want like a very hunky guy for a driver.
Yeah, James Hunt wasn't ripped like that.
Yeah, like because like in reality, you know, these drivers, you know, they have their exercise regimen and everything, but they're not like
Slim. They're very slim.
They're not like
They're not muscular dudes.
Yeah.
They're not like huge weightlifting dudes.
Yeah.
They're strong, but they're slim.
yeah, they got their muscles in there, but it's just like a slim, like yeah.
I think this is a great cast. By the way, this is directed by Ron Howard. Ron Howard. What?
I was gonna say Ron Stewart right now.
Who the hell's Ron Stewart? I'm gonna leave that in. I want you guys to know what the fuck I have to deal with. The fucking randomest shit. You guys Google Ron Stewart. Are you looking up Ron Stewart? Who's Ron? Is he a musician? You quickly type that up too. Is an American multi-instrumentalist in the bluegrass. Wow, it's so random. Okay, your ADHD is fucking firing up on all cylinders.
I think I was thinking of Rod Stewart. You said Ron Howard, and I was like,
You know what? I need like some fucking music for when your brain just checks out. Just a.
All
We do. All right, let's get it back on track. See, people tune in to not really listen. Like, I don't care about the fucking movie. I want to hear these idiots near kill themselves. Oh my gosh. There's a few other. We'll get back to it. There's a few other actors that pop up you might be familiar with. Olivia Wilde pops up with a bad British accent. She's not actually British, is she?
I don't think so.
No, yeah. But no one noteworthy. But the main focus of this movie is on these two drivers, and I think it's very well done. Do you want to just give like your overall thoughts on how you? You never even heard this movie prior, neither did I. I'm glad that we came to this movie because it's pretty intense and like it's really quick and it's paced well for like a 2-hour movie about drivers. And I'll let you answer the question I asked a second ago, but very similar to like Ford v Ferrari.
Oh, such a good movie.
Directed by James Mangold. This movie, Ron Howard's an amazing director, so it's kind of needless to say, but you know, when it comes to like sports movies, things I don't know nothing about, I get a little apprehensive going into it because I don't know the details and the rules and all these other things, but it's presented so well on top of the storytelling.
Yes.
The action's there, but when it comes to like the F1 movie that's going to come out, I'm like, dude, I want to see that action. Oh no, what are you looking at now?
No, because I was like, what was the question you asked me?
Oh, I'm sorry. That's fair. What were your overall thoughts about this movie?
I think it was a good movie. A good movie about this rivalry. Showed Niki Lauda's accident, of course, which I didn't think it was going to be that graphic in certain scenes. But at the end, it just showed how even though they had this rivalry, they had like a great friendship out of it as well.
Yeah. In per the tagline that I see on the poster here, everyone is driven by something. So we'll get into it once we get into the movie. But my overall thoughts is, you know, Ron Howard doesn't miss. The performances are great. Storytelling's awesome. Some of the action is well done, but a little dated. That's why I'm saying, like, I'm excited to see the newer technology and capturing the intensity of some of these scenes.
Oh, definitely.
Some glimpses of that in the Gran Turismo movie that came out, I think, over a year ago. Drone shots, FPV drone shots. So this is 2013. FPV drones didn't exist. So by the way, as far as the F1 movie that's going to come out, I fucking hope that they have some FPV drone shot. Did we see anything in the trailer?
I think we did. Okay. I think the trailer has something covering the track, but
I'm happy.
I'll confirm closer to date.
All right. Want to jump into it?
Yeah, let's go.
Okay. The movie opens up on Niki Lauda, and he's narrating it. And usually I'm not too fond of movies that narrate. It's kind of cheating a little bit. But it does switch back and forth for the first couple minutes with Niki Lauda describing himself, introducing himself, describes the job of Formula One, which is a ridiculous job. And they basically explain the rivalry between him and James Hunt.
Yeah.
But it does open up on the Nuremberg circuit, 1976, 1st of August, basically the day of his accident, which is the most important part of his life because of how him and Hunt's dynamic changes after that. But the action sequences already, like, it kicks off. Not that you're going to walk out of that theater or turn it off, when you're watching it, but the fact that it locks you into this and it is a fast-paced movie. Like I said, it's 2 hours long, but it chugs along like a Formula One movie really fucking should.
Yeah, and the whole thing, I do like how it does start with Formula 3. It kind of gives you a little bit of an understanding of what difference those cars have.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And horsepower and
everything, like even money related, like sponsorships and everything. It's all different compared to like Formula One. Because like jumping forward, when finally Hunt goes into Formula One, I think they had like no sponsorships or anything, and the person who was managing that team, he at the end of that season, he goes, no, like I think I miscalculated everything and all the expenses. Like, and
they didn't have enough sponsorships.
They didn't even they didn't have any. I think they only had one for like condoms, and that's it because they're going off James,
the breakfast of drivers.
They're going off James Hunt's like brand and stuff because that's what he was. He was a playboy.
His manager was named Lord Hesketh.
Yeah. And,
I love that character, by the way. That guy.
But like even like that, showing that, and like how once going a little bit back to the beginning where Lauda basically just buys his way in by getting a loan, like 30,000 euros or whatever, to get into Formula One, to get even into Ferrari. Ferrari's a big name in racing.
OG.
Yeah. And just for you to walk into to be like, oh, actually, I'm sorry. It wasn't Ferrari. It was BRM, British Racing Motors, and then goes on to Ferrari and stuff like that. But still, like, just to walk into a company and be like, here's my money, sponsor me, whatever. I don't care.
And that particular scene, by the way, where Brule playing Niki Lauda is confident. 90% of this movie, Niki Lauda is oozing confidence. Deserved confidence because he's been driving for years, and every driver usually starts from go-karting and then moving up through all the different tiers. What makes him a good driver, other than there's a scene where he goes, God didn't give me talent, but he gifted me with a great ass, because they have to feel the car. They have to feel every little imperfection with the car to know how to fix it, balance it out, or correct it, and whatnot.
Yeah. Perfect example. I'm sorry, but this is going to go back to F1. We were watching qualifying yesterday. And one of our new rookies, Isaac Hajar, he was complaining the whole time. He goes,
No relation.
No, and no relation to him. He was complaining the whole time where he was like, I don't feel comfortable in the cockpit. I don't feel like something is wrong. Something's not.
I thought he was talking about his harnesses.
Well, it was in general the cockpit. Like he was like, there's something just not going right. They didn't know what it was. So because he also complained about that in a free practice earlier that day. But going back, but it's this whole thing. It's like you have to feel everything in that car. But the fact that like this rookie kept complaining about the cockpit and how something's not right. Yeah, he qualified
6?
P7.
Okay.
And I'm just like, yeah. And I'm pretty sure he's going to do really good this race.
Well, if anyone does end up watching the actual Formula One drive races, practice, and quali, practice is the most interesting one because they're getting all the kinks out and they're learning the track, or not necessarily learning the track, but whatever, tuning their vehicles, right? And when you hear that radio conversation between driver and crew, it's every little thing. Mm-hmm. And, nowadays with technology, they have sensors for absolutely everything. If you ever see shots of like the paddock, the garage, they have screen upon screen upon screen, and so many teams looking at all these numbers. Everything is quantified. But the numbers are only the numbers. They'll get you so far. What matters is the person in that fucking cockpit.
And
and their ass.
And the whole difference, the ass. And the whole difference is we didn't have the technology that we have today back in the 70s. So if something was wrong, they would literally have to go and pit or do whatever, run, get out of the car, and then try to fix it and like help the whole thing. Also, another thing that I did like was that Lauda he knew his car, because they asked him when he signed for when he first signed, he's like, oh, here's my money, just put me in a team. He said, now put your number one driver in my car, and he's going to be 2 seconds faster. And they're like no,
2.3 something seconds faster.
And those 2.3 seconds, they matter.
Hugely, dude. 2 seconds. Usually, by the way, for reference, sorry, but for reference, the drivers are typically within 100th of a second behind one another. So 2 seconds is the difference between first place and like 10th place.
Yeah. And the fact that he decided to say like, and then when they checked, it's like 2.3 seconds, and he wouldn't give away what he changed in the car. That's a whole difference between him and Hunt. yeah, Hunt is a playboy. He does all this, but I don't think
Hunt's not technical though. That's the difference.
Yeah.
They're great drivers in very vastly different ways.
Hunt's more, once he gets in the car, his adrenaline's pumping and all this other stuff. And that's what's getting him to race, to basically drive with adrenaline. The other one's driving with
His brain.
yeah, his technique and everything.
Yeah.
Like,
It's so cold and collected, but like when Lauda speaks any words of wisdom, you take that. You have that shit tattooed on your fucking arm.
you
It's-
have that recorded. You don't even have to know.
Metaphorically speaking, it's gospel. But going back to it, the difference between Hunt and Lauda, it's essentially that tale as old as time of kind of brains over bronze. Niki Lauda was never liked by anybody. He's not a good looking guy. Keeps getting called a rat or rat face by Hunt throughout the entirety of this movie. And Hunt is perfectly played by Hemsworth.
Like,
who
it
was
was
a
like-
gorgeous, hold on, I want to say this clearly, who is a gorgeous looking man, as is Hunt, because Hunt is all fucking testosterone, all adrenaline, and this guy likes to partay.
He's a playboy.
A complete playboy and some.
I mean, to the point where it's like, well, one scene he was like so anxious in the plane, he got like the stewardess to go to the bathroom with him, like whatever. Like, not even like, he didn't have to do anything. Like, there was this not communication of just like, we're just gonna go to the bathroom. It's
Oh,
fine.
dude.
Like, whatever. And he's like, okay.
Well, let's open up, then let's continue on with the movie.
Okay.
We then cut to 6 years earlier, and now we intro James Hunt, and he's barefoot. Guy likes to be barefoot, and he's in his jumpsuit, driving jumpsuit. He's in the hospital, the ER, bloody face. The nurse, who the actress played, who was in Game
Natalie
of Thrones.
Dormer?
Yeah, gorgeous looking woman. I really thought she was going to be more in this movie,
Same.
but Hunt is narrating the movie while he hits on this nurse. Cut to, he sleeps with her. By the way, this is the fucking charm and charisma, kids call Riz, that James Hunt has. She's patching him up.
Yeah.
As he's flirting with her, he's explaining that he essentially slept with another man's wife. Get in my pants.
Yeah.
That.
Well, basically, when he met his wife at the time, he's like basically he proposed the same day. So I'm just like, okay, like you have that Riz,
Sounds
that nobody,
sounds so dumb when you say.
whatever.
And I will say Alva was on nudity alert with this one.
So many boobies.
So many movies.
I'm like a child. Boobies.
And then we cut to the Formula 3, James Hunt, he's dating the nurse. And we get introduced to the crew, which are a bunch of like bohemian, party goer, bunch of British folk. And they're a ton
Yeah.
of fun. But there is a moment where she's kind of getting charmed by the entirety of
The sport.
yeah. Hunt walks off and goes to puke. And there's a couple of times throughout this movie that he vomits before the race. And his manager, Lord Hesketh, he says that he does it for every single race. But he also tells her, as she's checking out the car, the Formula 3 car, he says, it's a terrible accent, but he goes, "Men love women, but more than that, men love cars."
Oh yeah.
If you're a Formula 1 driver, nothing else should be in your head. You should have no other desires, nothing else in your way, because it's the difference between, not to be dramatic about it, but like life or death.
In this moment, yes.
Yeah.
In this movie, yes. A lot is between life and death for this, especially in this movie.
And this is before
The halo.
the halo. Describe the halo, by the way.
So the halo is this round thing that goes over, kind of is a barrier with your head if it ever gets impacted. So it is a defense there. And in the early years of racing, there was no halo.
No, which meant that if they were to crash into one of the guardrails, they would go through it and subsequently
Pass away.
by decapitation.
Yeah, there's a lot of deaths back then. I think it's kind of started changing within like 80s, maybe 90s around there. A lot of those, I know Senna was one of those, not by decapitation, but just like the force of that hit, just because it is another barrier protection where it can lessen an impact to you.
Yeah, you see these guys hit these walls, and it's like a 50G crash, and they walk away unscathed, completely fine.
Some do, some don't. Some get their wrist broken.
Well, what I'm saying though, like I'll take a broken wrist compared to I don't know, dying.
Yeah. Well,
So we cut to a really fucking awesome race sequence over the song "Give Me Some Lovin'," and both of the drivers spin out, but this is their first encounter with one another. They're both ambitious. They're both they're hyper technical. They have a lot of drive, and this is where the rivalry starts. Unfortunately, Lauda spins out, and what do you call it? DNFs, right?
yeah.
Which
Did not finish.
Yeah. But this starts the rivalry where they're always arguing, not necessarily who was right, but whose lifestyle is right and who's on what level. Because I guess
Brunt.
I guess Hunt was driving for a while and was known enough in those circuits. And it seems like Lauda was relatively new to them because they've never, I mean, he has a face you wouldn't forget because he looks like a fucking rat.
That's mean.
No, it says that's I put it in quotes because that's the first time Hunt calls him a rat.
Oh, yeah.
Then we cut to that the Lauda steps away from his family business. He seems like he came from money.
He did, yeah. He let me exactly tell you. He did come from money. His family were like in finance. So walking away from that, like a cushy life, like you could have had a cushy life without having to do much, just be in the business and the family business of like finance or whatever, quote unquote, whatever, to follow into something that he had meaning with, he had a connection with.
We've covered a number of movies, and I can't exactly name which ones, but where the lesson to learn is don't waste your life doing nothing. Like find your passion, right? I heard a quote recently that said, "Don't count your breaths, count the things that take your breath away." Now, maybe that doesn't exactly apply to a sport like this where you're damn near guaranteed death or injury.
No.
But still, it's to have the passion to want to do something, to step away from a lush and lavish life and strap yourself to this 180 mile per hour motor is wild.
I feel like back then you might have had more of a chance to get into, like, especially Formula One. Like today, as much as you can try to get to Formula One, a lot of the drivers end up not making it to Formula One. They do make it into Formula One, get booted off. There's been a couple that have been booted off within the time that I have watched F1, that I have started religiously watching F1. Or, you know, they just don't make it, or they retire early because they just can't find another seat and they have to go into other sectors of racing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's, especially for Formula One and that talent, you can go into other sectors of racing easily. Other drivers in the past have done it. Current drivers are, you know, they have options to go do those things where they feel more comfortable doing it.
It's really an insane sport. I wish we had more time to talk about it. Again, we won't do a fucking Formula One podcast, but
I feel like half the time is just me giving stats about other drivers.
But still, this is like the perfect movie to kind of like talk around some of those things. It's wonderfully and perfectly depicted in this movie with these two characters. But Lauda, the focus on Lauda in this scene where he is preseason testing for BRM, and it's the first time you see him interacting with a crew.
Yeah.
Doesn't really get along with everybody, but it doesn't matter if anyone likes him. If he's right, he's right.
Yeah.
And when he shows people those numbers, when he proves them wrong, they have no choice but to go, well, shit, this rat face is right.
Yeah. I think I 100% agree with that. Like that. He's like, I don't, because as you're describing this, I'm just like, why are you describing me?
That is true.
Yeah. I just don't look like a rat. That's the only thing.
But you're not right as much as Lauda is, and you don't have an ass like his.
I don't know, but I do know when the car does not drive correctly.
Yeah, but you're like, warning light, whatever.
Nah, I think I was pretty...
Nah.
Nah, I think I was pretty spot on when their Kia was having car problems.
R.I.P. Kia. But yeah, in this sequence, Lauda, it shows how intelligent he is, not just in how he's testing these things, but being hands-on and helping them out rebuild the car. He isn't just like pointing, going, "Here's what you got to do." He's participating in the build, so he's extremely hands-on and swaps some parts out, and that's when he gets those couple of seconds faster.
Yeah.
Still very unlikable because he's pushing these guys to work overnight. His driver is tolerant of him, but later on in the movie, basically pushes him away. Not really a great teammate.
No, but in the end, he's kind of like, I just felt like he was one of those characters. I'm like, you could have had a little bit more of how Lauda was if you included the first driver, especially how he was coming up, because you kind of would give that a little bit more of a chemistry to an understanding of like how that is also of him. But he also did vote against him in a weird way for a certain scene.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
By the way, the rivalry with Hunt and Lauda goes as far as Lauda did have a chance with the secretary in the BRM office, and he was going to take her out.
Yeah.
But then his first driver, he gives him some unsolicited advice. In a manner of speaking, says, "You're going to have to keep up with the last guy she was with." Well, who was the last guy? A guy named Hunt. And he kept her up all night.
Yeah.
Doesn't touch that girl.
I will say, in a way, I just looked up the driver's name is Clay Regazzoni. I'm not even sure if I'm pronouncing that.
I want
correctly.
pasta now.
But Rigatoni. But it kind of looks like a little bit of this guy, Pier Francesco Favino. Kind of looks a little bit like him. So I felt like the cast was okay picked. Yeah.
None of the actors took me out of it. So after the sequence of Lauda, after he buys his way in and all that, then we cut to Hemsworth and his team, Hunt and his team. They decide to buy their way in. Already you're seeing how much influence one driver has over the other.
And you can tell, like, the ego with Hunt is like, oh, he gets to go into this one. Well, I'm going to follow right behind him and do the same thing. It's very childish in a way.
But now you get to spend time more with Hunt and his team and just how much they fucking party. He wins a driver of the year for the Formula 3, for F3. And he came from a good upbringing, too.
They're like politicians kind of thing.
From money.
Yeah,
from absolute
they both
money.
came from money. Only one actually decided to walk away from the. Well, they both walked away from the money. The other one decided to do more of like, I'm gonna do it my way, but very like intellectually do it. The other one's just like, I'm gonna party on and be the black sheep of the family.
God, Hunt lived his life hard.
Like in a way, to put a bad name to our name.
Right.
Because like if your family are like of high standing and like you're bringing like again Hunt on the news and blah 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 with so many people around. Found partying too hard, and especially if your family is like politicians or in high power, it's going to be a little bit difficult.
But the thing with Hunt is, he can party in the lower divisions. There's less stakes. But once you get to F1, where everyone is champing at the bit to drive for F1, and whether it's buying your way in or working your way up. So he skipped F2 and now in F1. But the problem with that is now you have to back it up. Now you have to be consistent. It's one thing to win the lower divisions because you're just that much of an insane driver, but now you have to have discipline, which he doesn't have, and it then starts to get in his way. I don't know if this is true or not, but these guys would party in the pits for their first F1 race, but that partying gets cut short during qualifying. There's an accident, and that's when we see the decapitation and what it looks like when you don't have what we now have, which is the halo. And Hunt is freaked out and spooked. But Nikki is so fucking cold. Like, even I didn't like him in this moment because he says that if you look at the tire marks, he should have braked sooner. So the guy was an asshole. He calls the driver an asshole.
I agree. I could see both sides. Like, one, like, you have these markings from like previous other drivers where they made mistakes. You kind of would have to see it in a way, but I also understand maybe a split moment or whatever.
The guy's body's still warm. He calls him an asshole twice. You're driving like an asshole.
I mean, there it is. It is what it is.
Now, there is this cool scene that no current drivers will ever have to do because of technology. It's where Hemsworth Hunt is in his, what I call the mind palace, or what Sherlock Holmes would call his mind palace. And he is timing the shifting and the braking and acceleration and turning. These drivers, even the drivers today, they still memorize absolutely everything. And it's fun to see clips of current drivers where they'll hear a track,
Yeah.
Or, although they can draw the track by memory and they know all and you have to.
Well-
your ass is flying through that thing. You better know in that split second when to brake and all that other fun stuff.
Well, I mean, like when Checo Perez was with Red Bull or whatever, he was doing some media thing, and they were doing this thing where they were playing the Grand Prix in the back, and he had to be like, okay, what turn is this? What turn is that? Whatever. And he goes, this is this one, and then that is turn this, and here, and here, and here. And I'm like, but you have to. But the whole thing is like now drivers, they walk the track. They walk it, they ride it, they run it, they go on a bike, a scooter, or whatever it is. Like they have to, for them to know this track, they have to walk it. They have to know where the grooves are, where there might be a little dip, because every year, whether or not that track got paved or not, like perfect example, the Chinese Grand Prix, that track was repaved before this season, so it was new pavement. If you don't walk that track, you're kind of going in blind, and it's dangerous.
Even something as simple as the paint on the track limits.
Yeah, the paint. What was it? Australia, the Australian GP, because that track is also open to the public. They can't use the special paint that is used in Formula One, so it is just regular.
It's slippery.
Yeah, it's slippery. So of course, the beginning of the season, those lines, those markings, because it is a regular paint, it was slippery for them, and there were so many DNFs.
A ton.
Yeah, and I'm just like, well, there goes half the track. Going back to this movie, and going back to the point where Lauda was like calling a warm dead body an asshole. I'm like, I fucking get it, because you have called drivers who done less while we're watching a race an asshole. And I'm like, oh, I don't see how that was an asshole.
They didn't die, Alva.
I don't see how that was an asshole.
Alva, they didn't die.
Look, I'm just saying I side with one person.
God. Holy Jesus fucking Christ.
It's there. Anyways, moving on.
I can't with you.
We're moving on.
We introduced Olivia Wilde, who plays Susie, who's a model, and flirting really heavily with Hunt, and then smashed cut to them getting married. But during the wedding, sorry, I'm still fucking. During the wedding, Hunt receives the news that Nikki is signed for Ferrari. That is
Scuderia Ferrari.
There you go. Major news. And then we cut to Nikki testing the cars for Ferrari. And it's one of my fucking favorite scenes. At any time it pops up on social media, I gotta watch it. Because Ferrari is like the fucking team.
Oh my God. Scuderia Ferrari. Scuderia Ferrari. I do like how they had Enzo Ferrari on there, like, even though like there's no lines, but you have, anytime you have this name, this thing, you think of Enzo, like you think red car and Enzo, those are the things. So the fact that they just had like an actor sitting there just portraying Enzo Ferrari, just having this little espresso, whatever.
How'd you like Adam Driver portraying him in that Ferrari
I liked
movie?
it, and I don't feel like a lot of people liked it.
Yeah.
But
the line that he gives is one of my favorites, because he tells the engineer straight out that it drives like a pig. It drives like shit. And it's
can I do it?
It's like, hold on. Now, usually, you get these like really intricate dialogues and everything like that, wonderful lines, but the line is just Well done.
Because like what the engineer like is talking back, like, what do you mean it drives like shit?
You can't say that. That's Ferrari.
Like, yeah, I mean, like,
but it's perfect because
you're getting good feedback off of this.
But Lauda doesn't want to argue with people who aren't going to fucking listen.
Because then he'll walk away. He'll go to another team. And unfortunately, they kept him there. So, he did win two championships out of his 3 world championships with Ferrari.
So then we move on to the scene where Clay, his teammate, does take pity upon Nikki, and he takes him to a social gathering where immediately it pisses him off, and so he leaves him alone. And Nikki is not socially awkward, so he doesn't want to be part of that crowd that he's not going to like. So he walks off. But this is when he meets his later wife, And
Yeah.
she is gorgeous.
Oh my God. She gave me a little bit of Princess Diana vibe.
Oh my God. That's what it was.
Yeah.
What's
And
the actress's name?
her name,
Alexandra Maria
Lara. Yeah.
Played Marlene Lauda.
Yeah. Lauda. And I kind of liked her because she gave like that like, very powerful, very strong, silent kind of thing, takes no shit kind of in a way. But also like when she has, her and Lauda are officially married and everything.
Mm-hmm.
And later on we're going to talk about this scene where he's in the hospital. He says to her, like, you have to let me do this if you love me kind of thing.
Yeah.
And she 100% doesn't question him about it. She understands him and that he has to do this thing as much as it pains her, just like, understands and just gives him that safe space for him to do what that was.
That's a strong marriage. That's really is a strong marriage to know your significant other and when they're going to stop or not. Because when they later on, we'll bounce around, but later on in the movie when they do get married, which is just a simple courthouse marriage.
I love it.
Compared to Hunt's extravagant top hat and rice throwing marriage.
All the top hats and whatever, and it just didn't make sense for me. But
there's a scene immediately after where he's just staring out the window because he does love her. He really does love her.
Yeah.
And he says, happiness is the enemy. When you have something to lose, that's the problem. Meaning he's going to now doubt himself. Because the job of a F1 driver is damn near being suicidal. Mm-hmm. You have to take those risks, which is why what makes Hunt a cut above the rest.
Especially back in the 70s.
I don't want to move past the scene when he meets his wife, though, because this scene gave me Selena's vibes.
Anything for Selena's.
Quick setup. She gives him a ride to the train station. This is where he delivers the line, God gave me a great S, because he can feel that her car, the timing belts, this, that, and the other.
Was not serviced properly.
He really flexes. Like, he's like, the front right tire's a little low and the back one's a little wobbly, blah, blah, blah. She says it's perfectly fine. And then, smash cut comic, it's broken down. They're trying to hitch a ride. Mm-hmm. She's gorgeous. She's like, you're scaring people away. Let me take care of it. These guys do the Selena's stop where it's a full-on screeching to a halt.
Yeah.
And the rewind.
Yeah. And the whole thing, it's at this point she's like, in this nice, dress and everything.
Gorgeous.
Yeah. And she thinks that they both get out of the car. Both guys get out of the car thinking, and she's like thinking that they're gonna go talk to her. She's invisible, and
right past her,
and she's like, "Wait, what?" And they asked him like, "Oh my God, Niki Lauda, blah 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 blah," fangirling. Okay, fangirling.
Oh, it's so good.
They get him. They give him a ride. He's driving, right?
But he's driving slow.
Yeah, slow.
And she's egging him on.
Yeah.
He's driving like an old person. He's a sports driver.
He's a race car driver.
And so he's like, well, there's no risk. Why do I going to drive fast if there's no risk not risk, that risking their safety. He's not gonna risk their safety just to show off. But because they have some chemistry, she says, well, do it. And he says, why? Because I asked you to. And he does.
He does. But this whole time, like, the guys in the back were like, oh my God, oh my God. I'm just like, they're like little kids.
It's so enjoyable.
And they're driving past all these other people and they're looking back like if they can like yell at these people like, Niki Lauda's driving us. But no one can hear. They're just excited.
So then we transition to the USGP. We get these intercut moments of James Hunt and Niki Lauda's, their both respective wives, watching their respective husbands race and the worry on their faces.
Oh, yeah.
They're involved. Niki does win the world championship. There is this dialogue that him and Hunt have, and they mirror it at the very end, but now with more respect. Mm-hmm. But it's the first time that they now they know what they're all about. He basically says that Hunt won't win world champion because he's not serious, not like him.
Mm-hmm.
That's a hard slam. But Hunt claims that he could beat him if it was an even playing field, essentially conceding that Niki Lauda does have the better car.
Yeah.
And later on, we do for a glimmer of a moment finally do get some races where there are even playing fields that do have the better cars, because later on, after Hunt's wife leaves him because he is a party guy, and after the sponsorships don't come through for his team, and he's basically told he's not going to drive anymore, goes into a drunken stupor.
As he should.
And for a driver who's in his prime to be told he's not going to drive,
Yeah.
might as well end his life.
Basically, yeah. That's because they didn't manage the money correctly. Lord, whatever his name is, just was there for the fun of it, thinking it was going to be like F3.
But that drives a rift between him and his wife.
Yes. And he should have gone on that skiing trip, to be honest. He should have.
He should have, but that wouldn't have been James Hunt.
No.
That would be some magical world where he's learned his lesson that life isn't about following a passion and driving. It's about your marriage.
Well, he could have been partying with Richard Burton too, but maybe he would have seen Elizabeth Taylor.
I don't think he really loved Susie.
No, I think he just did that so for the image of like Formula One and everything.
1,000%.
But he did have 2 kids with her.
Did he really?
Yeah.
Oh man, I did not know that. But he tells her women don't marry men who drive in circles looking for normalcy, which is pretty fucking true.
But she's also like a model, and she's never really there either.
That's true. He does call her vapid. Like he throws it in her fucking face.
You're gonna be a model, and of course, I know you have your job and stuff. You have your own things to do, but at the same time, it's like you can't call someone out for something and not be there at the same time. You kind of just being a hypocrite on yourself.
Yeah, she did suck. She was a bit of a lame ass. Like she was more mature than he was, but she wasn't that far ahead.
Going back to the USGP, it was the Watkins Glen Grand Prix in New York. It was before COTA.
Got it. Okay. So at this point, he doesn't have a team, and before he's going to drink himself into even further of a stupor, he manages to argue his case and signs on with McLaren. And even to this day, McLaren is one of those top teams. Like when we're watching these races, it is always going to be a Red Bull. It's always going to be a Mercedes or a McLaren that is up there on either podium or just top 5.
Yeah, that's now. But like back then, it was also like Williams and stuff like that. And a lot of these engines were Ford as well. Hence Ford v Ferrari, because a lot of the engines may have been Ford. McLaren Ford. You got Mach Ford. You got Lotus Ford. Lotus is also another controversial thing. Yeah.
I'm going to go back real quick. So the reason why Hunt has to argue his case, what he's actually arguing with McLaren, isn't to just like sign on. They're fighting. They're pushing him back because they know his reputation. They know the rivalry between Nicky. It's an unhealthy one.
And Nicky just won a fucking championship.
But not only that, but the fact that they know Hunt's reputation as a partier, as an inconsistent, partying, lack of discipline child, essentially. Like, yeah, he has the raw talent, but Jesus, if you're going to throw money into somebody, you want to make sure that, yeah, sure, you can win one here and there, but are you going to be able to do it at the level where you're going to be able to beat somebody like Nicky?
Or at least be a contender to it.
I could have been something. I could have been a contender.
I don't know.
And like every race movie, you get a race montage and all these different circuits, and Nicky wins, and Hunt wins, and that win, Hunt is DQ'd because Nicky, being a rule follower,
as he should.
What was it? The width of the tires?
It was the width. Yeah, it was the car. The car's width was a little bit too out of regulation for that. So for the Spanish Grand Prix, he did get disqualified for that, and it happens. I mean, it just recently happened to Ferrari. That's the first time in a while that Ferrari has gotten a double disqualification for this season, and it's success. But whatever. You just have to move on.
I think Elva's itching to start a F1 podcast.
Maybe. Who knows?
Why not?
Who would listen? Please
You would run that one, and I just sit and be like, I'll sit and look pretty.
Who will join me with that one?
Oh, dude, our listener Chris, shout out, dude. He loves F1.
Oh,
he would listen.
Right. What are your teams? Who are your drivers?
Oh, I don't know.
Answer this question, Chris. I need to know your teams and your drivers. Like, what's the controversy that you're like on?
So after Hunt gets DQ'd, they try to fix it, but his car keeps failing, and he accuses Nikki of cheating essentially. But it's a low blow. Technically, he's not cheating, but he did rat him out per fucking ratty Niki Lauda.
Yeah, but I mean, also all these races, like they also have like the FIA, which is, I guess, like
They're like the judges.
yeah, the judges and everything. So they do check things, and they have to make sure the cars are in regulation. So it wasn't like he ratted that out.
But even currently with these like past couple of seasons that we've watched, you hear these back and forths, and drivers will call out other drivers and get them penalized.
Oh yeah, no, definitely. But also, did you know that they have someone who is specialized in the smell of burning wood to see if their floors have been used too much?
Oh my God.
Yeah, like that's the whole thing. Like they will have these people walking around cars, and they're like officials, and if they smell the car's floor, because it is basically a plank of wood with a thing of middle right in the middle.
We looked into it one time of like the quote unquote judges. I think they're called stewards.
Yeah.
Right. And there's like the top people, and they have a handful of other people below them that they report to. So it's hyper technical.
But even if you aren't one, like, and you're just one of the officials that are just walking around, you know, congratulating the driver that just won, and you smell a car nearby, and you're like, oh shit, that smells like burning wood. That smells like a certain smell of like scratch off wood, you know, whatever. And then that's how Hamilton got disqualified last race,
yeah.
you know, and then the other one was because of the weight, but whatever.
But like any other ref, there's times they make bad calls, and there's times where they miss a call. So there's, we won't go into that. I can feel you revving up.
I don't.
Pun intended.
Yeah. Vroom, vroom.
So back to the movie. At this point, Hunt is losing and Nikki is obviously winning. And Hunt's not only losing races, but he's losing at life. His wife does leave him. You mentioned before where he slept with a stewardess. Now, in this moment, he's coming to terms with this new drive that he has to have and finally finding the discipline. But it's so weird because you forgot to mention, as he's sleeping with the stewardess in the bath, by the way, those stalls are not that big.
No.
With the stewardess, he's creepily staring at himself in the mirror. Very American Psycho.
Yeah, it's like, you're no one. This doesn't mean nothing.
That's how I find my drive.
Yeah, I was like, okay, cool, whatever.
And I guess it worked because he is winning and winning. And those points that he lost from being disqualified, he got them reinstated.
Yeah.
And I think subsequently wins the world championship that season.
Yeah.
Sorry, real quick. At this point, Nikki is actually, for the first time ever, worried.
Well, you know why he's worried, right? Okay, because 1970, right? 1976, when all this is happening to Hunt, like he's basically battling with Niki Lauda the whole time. But halfway through the season is when Nikki has his accident in 1976.
Yeah.
Where in the German Grand Prix, he just has this horrible accident where the car just goes into flames. He endures 55 seconds of this?
Yeah. So I want to lead up into that. Before they actually race, during a practice, they yet again witness another crash. They're at the Nuremberg track and it's raining. This is after Nikki gets married. There's a moment where a fan asks Nikki for an autograph. And after he gives him the autograph, he goes, oh, and the date? He goes, for what? Well, it might be your last.
In case this is your last race. Because a lot of drivers,
right after the crash.
They don't make it sometimes.
But like I said, now that Nikki is married and in love with his wife, as one should be, man, we're nearing 10 years this year, huh?
Married, yes.
Yeah. It's raining like crazy. Nuremberg is known for having the most fatalities and the most crashes. Add rain on top of that, and then add the very, very fast cars on top of that.
You are fucking screwed.
So Nikki calls a meeting because he wants to vote for the race to be canceled.
Or postponed.
Postponed, yes. Hunt, wanting to win, accuses him of just using this as a tactic instead of for safety.
Oh, yeah, because if nobody gets any points, because this race will technically be like, nobody gets points for this race, Niki Lauda is still going to have, no one's going to beat him because no one can catch up.
Yeah. So then we're finally back at where the movie actually started off, which is the beginning of this race, and it is intense from the get-go. Hunt is beating Nikki Nicky's having trouble in the pits. It can't get his tire on. I don't know if that actually caused the issue with the tire and the struts or whatever the connection was. There's a moment where Niki Lauda goes airborne after going over a hill. I don't know if that actually happened or happens.
That in that track, yes.
Really? Fuck. And they keep shooting, like they keep focusing on the strut, you know, like something's going to happen. And right before the crash, Nikki has this tunnel vision. I mean, it's an intense sequence. I love how it's shot. It doesn't feel bad or unnatural in any kind of way. But later on in the film, they actually show the real clip in the background, but it is brutal. He crashes and catches fire because he punctures his gas tank, and there's a pileup. Like I think 2 other cars hit him.
Yeah. Unfortunately, those other drivers did try to. Unfortunately, those other drivers did crash, but they did try to help him out
and couldn't get him out for like a minute, roughly, where he sustained facial burns and lung burns.
Yeah.
What was the other driver recently? No, past couple of years, something like that, where he was trapped for like.
I got you.
Way over a minute.
Yeah. Grosjean? Romain Grosjean.
Yeah,
I got it.
Look him up. Look up that video. It is heartbreaking. Does it say exactly how long he was trapped in there?
20 seconds?
I thought it was longer.
No.
Oh, man, Nikki beats him.
So 2 drivers are attempting to save Lauda as best they can. Finally, after 55 seconds, I'm going to go with a minute. They get him out. His hospital visit is not so pleasant. They actually read him his last rites.
Oh my God, they did.
Because they just didn't think he was going to make it.
And he tells him to fuck off.
Yeah. And how they tell his wife in the movie. I'm not sure if this is in real life, but I really do hope so. How they tell his wife in the movie is he just told the priest to fuck off because he was getting read his last rites and saying that he's still alive. And she just books it to him like, oh my God, he's alive. But she's also in shock because she finally sees all the damage that happened.
It's like the upper half of his face.
Yeah. And it's not like she's like, oh my God, now he's ugly. No, it's just that initial shock because she stayed with him throughout the whole time at the hospital.
Credit to the makeup effects on that too.
Oh yeah. But like also as like he's in the hospital when he's getting the bandages taken off. Ugh.
Oh God,
right?
It was that was hard to watch, which was well done. I mean, to get a reaction out of me. I don't know if this is true at all, but like in the movie, it's depicting him watching the races, watching Hunt win all these races as he's like getting his dressing change, as he's getting intubated. I guess they'll have a TV on for him as he's getting intubated, so they could like vacuum out all the decrepit shit in his lungs,
his burnt lungs.
Golly. But watching Hunt win his points pushed him. It drove him to continue with these terrible treatments where they don't anesthetize him, they don't put him to sleep, and have him do the procedure again. Like he wants to just push through it so that he can race. And after about a month, he does indeed.
6 weeks.
There you go. He God.
But yeah, and going back to how I was saying earlier where
he races again. I didn't finish my sentence. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. But going back earlier where we were talking about how his wife walks into his room and he's actually trying to put his helmet back on, his racing helmet back on. And the fact that she understands that he has to do this. Like, this is his career. It's his way of him getting back on the horse. Or step 1 of getting back on the horse. And if he can't get this helmet on, then she knows that this might be it for him mentally. Because I feel like also he was trying to like mentally not let himself stop himself.
Right. Again, supportive wife.
He only missed 2 races, by the way.
Is that right? Mm-hmm. Hunt does apologize to Nikki. They meet up in a press conference, and God, these reporters. Everyone is asking how he's feeling. They're asking about his injuries and his recovery. But there's this one fucking reporter that asks what his wife thinks about how he looks and how how can his wife love him after looking so hideous? And this is where Hunt's a real fucking friend or a real G, because he takes that reporter aside and beats the shit out of him. Like, really beats the shit out of him.
Yeah. That I felt like that was like the turning point of like them actually showing the more of like, no, they're actually friends, but they push each other on track.
Yeah. So which they're figuring out that it's a healthy dynamic, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So Nicky finally races. He's racing Monza, and he's driving terribly, because why would you try to take any risks after something as terrible as that? But he does lock back in and wins that race.
As he should.
Fucking
An Italian GP. You're not going to win that in Ferrari's a home race. How dare you? No, but he didn't win that one.
So the Japanese GP is the final race. And at this point, Nicky is 3 points ahead of James Hunt. And once again, it's raining. And I love the scene where there's the long table to press conference. And it's the first time, I think, publicly, per the movie, where they're actually going back and forth. Now they're having fun with their rivalry, as opposed to just like them hating themselves. And it's Hunt who actually wants to cancel the race, but they subsequently don't.
Because Hunt feels that fear in a way, because he firsthand saw his friend go through that.
Yeah.
And I felt like that impacted him, but also in a way gave him that drive, seeing him like, if he sees me worried, he's also not going to be doing this. And we can't have that, because he's getting back on his horse. We don't want him to get back off this horse so fast.
Right. So so they have this final level of respect with one another, and proceed with another driving sequence. The action is awesome, but I did note that this is like a technical aspect. They had good slow-mo. Mm-hmm. I'm going to go real technical as far as filmmaking, that when you shoot slow motion, you shoot it with the high-speed camera, so that when you slow it down, it actually looks really good. But in that sequence, there was both the good slow-mo and then the bad slow-mo, which is basically you're shooting at like a standard frame rate is like 24 frames per second. So when you slow that down, it kind of looks like choppy.
Okay.
Which is weird. I don't know what the directing thought process was. It's something that I was nerding out about and noticing, and I notated it because that's what I do.
Okay.
It's my moment of nerdom.
I wasn't saying anything. I was just going along with it.
I judge myself. Nicky is, I think at this point he's winning, but the rain is coming down hard.
Yeah.
And he wants to push, but he's thinking of his wife, and he quits the race. Like, he understands he's not going to be able to push himself. He's going to second guess himself.
It's just getting more dangerous.
Yeah. And instead of getting in another fucking crash, it just might as well quit it. Now that puts Hunt in the lead, but he has to get a certain placement in order to actually win points enough to win the whole championship. But by the way, this sequence was fucking awesome because, and I don't know if it's true, sometimes they dramatize stuff for movies, but Hunt's gear shift knob was broken, so he's shifting with a bloody hand. Nowadays, they have the paddle shifters behind the wheel, but back then it's just straight up fucking gear shift. And Hunt is dealing with degraded tires. Like, it's wasn't looking good for him.
Yeah, his front left or his front right was just like demolished when he went to go pit. Back then, also, you didn't have radios when you pit. You have to like know your car, or maybe you had strategies. I don't know.
But per Hunt's personality, you would think that after Hunt has witnessed his friend, his rival, sustain major injuries and major damage, that he himself, even after seeing that he quit the race, you think he would go, you know what? I'm going to take care of myself. Which is what his crew leader tells him, that he should take it easy and look after himself. Essentially telling him to quit the race. But
follow Lauda.
But that's not James Hunt. And so he peels off after a fuck it.
Because he has to prove himself something. You know what I mean. Continue.
And after another fun driving sequence, he does win the world championship by only one fucking point. By the hair in his chinny chin.
And the fact that like Lauda stayed there the whole time to see if he was going to be world champion. Because even though Hunt had to at least finish above he at least had to get P3
Yeah.
for him to win this championship. And he did. But the fact that, you're having to stay there in case you just win this championship. The fact that Hunt, after the whole race, went to the paddock with his car in front of his garage. And he was like, I'm sorry, guys. I didn't win this for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, what do you mean?
Yeah, there's like a misunderstanding of the placings.
And everyone's kind of like, what do you mean you did win?
Nicky is with his wife in the helicopter, but they're looking on as James Hunt wins the championship. And he's looking longingly. But there's this resolve because although he would like to win another championship, he has no regrets. That's a level of maturity. I mean, this guy, with all the confidence in the world, he knows that he had to pull himself out of this race. Otherwise, it'd be more than just face damage.
Yeah, definitely.
I think this is so funny. This is a weird part of the movie. I don't know if I think that it needed it, where it's another montage after Hunt's win, and it's like partying and sex and partying and shooting commercials and more sex. And you want boob look out like boobs and butts.
Well, I mean, I felt like it was crucial because after that, Hunt never really raced again in a way.
I think he raced for 2 more years.
Yeah, but he never really 100%.
Damn, only for 2 more years.
Yeah, you're at your prime. You could still win more championships, at least, try against other teams. But you quit after you proved you could do it once.
Right.
So it's like, for him, it really wasn't the career he wanted. He just kind of wanted to prove himself. But with Nicky, it was like, no, I can do this. I can make this a long time thing. I can do this. And it shows because the fact of how long Nicky stayed helping other drivers and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's true. They have a last interaction where they kind of run into each other at an airport in Italy. Still, their conversations with one another is an argument back and forth, but not as heated. Mm-hmm. In a more calm way, they're mirroring their earlier conversations of Hunt saying, what's the point of life if you're not going to enjoy it? Which is true. Like, I do get it. Nicky wants Hunt to take it seriously. Yeah, party, but really be the person to push him, because he says that it's a blessing to have an enemy to push each other to go above and beyond. I mean, that's fucking awesome. I mean, sure, it's a little bit of like negative motivation, but it's motivation and it works. World championships, world champions right there.
Yeah.
Oh, this is such a dig. I wrote this quote down. Hunt says, "You look good. Only person to have half his face burn off and be an improvement." I really hope he said that in real life. But no, so the movie's coming to an end. It's explained that Hunt retired 2 years after and died at the age of 45 from a heart attack. Mm-hmm. Talk about not fizzing out and just going out in a flash. That guy fucking partied. Of course he fucking died from a heart attack.
Why wouldn't he? I mean, look at him.
And the movie ends with the images of the real James Hunt and Nicky Lauda and the 2 race cars driving towards the camera in the sunset.
Oh, that was nice. Yeah.
So we've seen Rush.
Yeah,
It's a cool movie. I think I could recommend it to people. It's not as up there with like Ford v Ferrari, but it's still very enjoyable. And like I said at the very top, it's paced quickly enough with some funny lines and shit. I love their performances. I love the action sequences. Not a bad movie. And so let's end this segment before we get into covering our trailers with, fuck, I won't do the theme music, but I'm guessing the Rotten Tomato score on this movie. So my personal rating on this, I would give it, I really have to sit with it for a minute, but I think I would give it a 75% personally.
Okay.
Just from technical movie making aspects, I'm going to go super technical. Mm-hmm. The way that it was lit, it was very cinematic looking, but 80% of the scenes was with this like really bright halo lighting, hair light. And it made it look a little too dreamy.
Okay.
That's just me. I would give it a 75%. I think critics probably liked it at a 70%, and I think audience liked it at a 80%.
Okay. You're wrong. 88 and 88.
Damn.
Both 88.
Well, right on. Okay. Well, fuck me. Oh man, yeah, what a fucking cool movie. What are your final thoughts on Rush?
I really enjoyed it. I want to know. I want to see more movies like this.
I do want to note that when I was like, let's cover the movie Rush, you're like, with Jackie Chan?
Yeah, because you just said Rush, and I'm like, are we watching like Rush Hour, or because I've seen that multiple times, and you're like, no, Rush, and I'm like, what are you talking about? Rush, finish it. Although when I was doing some research for this movie, as I was like, trying to open all my tabs, and I put Rush, thinking that I'm like, duh, there's not a band named Rush. So the first thing that popped up was Rush, the band. I was like, no, wrong thing. I have to put movie.
You think people will enjoy this?
Yes, I feel like they would. So go see it.
All right. Okay. So quick chat before we close out on. We're gonna cover two movies that trailers just dropped, and I'm so excited for Tron. Okay, one in particular, I'm really excited for both of these movies, but one in particular because I love comedies, I love satire or parodies. It is Liam Neeson starring in the new Naked Gun, the requel, the continuation of the Naked Gun franchise. We have not gotten a movie like this in so many fucking years.
I did see the movie poster for it, and it's Liam Neeson in a schoolgirl's outfit. It looks like very Catholic schoolgirl. And fun fact, Liam Neeson was in Dairy Girls, this show. This awesome
Dairy Girls.
Dairy Girls, okay? He was, a police officer, and he's interviewing these schoolgirls, which is the show about. And and I thought, I'm just like, is he doing a parody of Dairy Girls right now? No, that can't be until I read the caption that said Naked Gun, which was like, okay, whatever. I mean, you got me there, but Sister Michael would have been a little bit mad, but I think she would like this, though.
There is no better person to cast in this role. Liam Neeson has done some comedies. He was in Ted, I believe, where he's buying, I think, Trix cereal. Mm-hmm. And he's asking Ted, the cashier, I have a question. It says here that the cereal is for kids. Will there be any enforcement of that? He goes, no, I don't think so. It's such a funny execution of comedy.
I will say I've never seen Naked Gun before, so that's going to be our next movie.
Oh, I'm down. I'm so down.
Yeah, okay.
So fucking down. We haven't had comedies like this in quite a while. And I bring that up in a very dramatic way because I don't want them to try to please everybody and make jokes for everybody. In the trailer, O.J. Simpson is referenced. In the original movie, O.J. Simpson, the alleged serial killer, or alleged murderer, he only killed the one person, allegedly.
Didn't he kill the guy too?
Allegedly. He played one of the detectives in the movie, and it was he was really funny. What were your thoughts on the trailer?
I liked it. I mean, it was short. It was a teaser trailer. It's introducing, I am guessing, to the cast, and then it ended. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is exactly what I want. Like a little bit of like, here's it is, here's the and bada bing, bada boom.
I'm hoping
see the trailer.
I'm hoping that it's going to be a trilogy.
Yeah.
So I
okay.
have high hopes for this movie.
Or at least they're just,
So I'm very curious to see what they're going to reference in this. Next,
Tron.
we got a fucking Tron trailer. Not a lot of people liked Tron Legacy.
Ares.
I, for one, thought it was amazing. So Tron Ares trailer looked fucking cool. So it looks like Jared Leto is going to be starring in it, and Peter Evans. I always forget his name.
Peter Evans.
Yeah. It looks like we're going to get more of like the real world interaction, which is really fucking cool. Mm. The trailer opening up with the cycle sequence and cutting the cop car in half.
Dude, I saw that and I was like, well, that's one way to get rid of cops. Just cut their car in half with this light thingy that it is.
It's a light cycle.
Get
it right.
I don't know much of what's going on. You literally
Have you seen the other? I haven't seen the first Tron. Did you see Legacy?
Yeah, I saw that with you. When the music started playing, I was like, did they get Daft Punk back together?
No, they got 9-inch fucking nails.
Which, by the way, they have
solid fucking music.
Yeah.
I'm stoked for that movie.
Me too.
Dude, as far as like, I know people aren't coming out with like original movies and they do rely on existing franchises and stuff. totally fine with me as long as you make it entertaining and it's compelling. I'm all fucking for it. I really, people complain about that shit. Like, oh, great, another sequel, requel, prequel. Yeah, but like, it's fine as long as it's good. If it's good, sign me the fuck up for
rest,
sign me the hell up for more of these things. So, any thoughts about that? Any last thoughts about anything else?
No, I feel like I'm good. I did say, what is it with Jared Leto? I was like Morbius, because he kind of looked more like that than what I felt like.
He better not fuck this up. He's been consistent with fucking sucking ass in these movies.
I'm surprised he wasn't like, get my band to do the music for this movie.
No, they wanted good music.
Some of his songs can be good. I mean, whatever.
Fight me.
I said some. I didn't say all.
Yeah.
But it does make more sense to have Nine Inch Nails do it. And when you did tell me like, oh, the Tron Ares trailer came out, I was like, oh, they're a fire sign? How dare you bring that into the
And that's the show. Let's wrap that shit up before we get on the whole zodiac signs. Okay. Well, that's the show. We saw Rush. We think you should see it too.
Let us know what you think about it.
Yeah, it's not playing anywhere for free, so you do have to rent it.
On Amazon.
Yeah. And I'm excited for movies coming out. Now, those are just the 2 trailers that we've seen. There's a handful of other things that have been coming out and other announcements. Look to our social media.
At YHSC Pod.
On Instagram and TikTok, where I put most of the news stories and our videos and kind of covering it all in one little bite-sized thing. And also look for the Minecraft review. Alva won't be joining me on that because it's a simple movie that doesn't need a bigger production video review. So it'll just be me giving a little blurb on it. Anything else?
No.
Thank you again for the guys for following and subscribing and commenting and joining in on and continuing conversations about any and all of these movies. And also thank you again for support on Venmo at
YHSC Pod.
YHSC Pod everywhere. In the meantime, let us know what movies are on your growing list of films. And as people asking you the question,
You haven't seen that?
See you next week.
Okay, bye.